Once upon a time, there was a boy who dreamed of flying. Not to get from one place to another, but to look at the world from a different vantage point. To not remain shackled by the rules, to break free. He couldn't grow wings, so he did the next best thing. He hung a wire up in the air, and he walked. In 1974, he put this wire 450 meters high on the roof of the World Trade Center in New York. It was his theater in the sky. Our guest this morning is that man, the greatest high wire artist in history. But he's also more than that. He's a painter, a street juggler, a magician, an author, a lockpicker, a lawbreaker, and a myth maker. But more than anything, he is himself. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Monsieur Philippe Petit.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome to the India Today Conclave.
Oh, it's nice to be here. First time in India.
Oh, that's lovely. We hope you keep coming back.
Oh, certainly. I hope this is your last question. I have a surprise before we really get into our conversation. The most asked question is, how could you be on the edge of the building and put your 2 feet on the wire and start walking? What was in your head and how is that possible? So I am going to answer now, but not by remembering, by reliving. So I would ask you to make an effort of imagination and to imagine that you are back in time, August 7th, 1974, and that you are with me at the top of the South Tower of the World Trade Center. And then this silly little tube will symbolize the 30 feet long balancing pole that was weighing 45 pounds. So look at this. All of a sudden, the density in the air is no longer the same. Manhattan no longer spreads its infinity. The murmur of the city dissolves into a squall whose chill and power I do no longer feel. I lift the balancing pole, I joust it, maneuver it between my fingers to find its center, to accustom my arm to its weight, which I do before each of my performance. I approach the edge. I step over the beam. I place my left foot on the steel rope. The weight of my body rests on my right leg, anchored to the flank of the building. I still belong to the material world. Should I ever so slightly shift my weight to the left, my right leg will be unburdened, my right foot will freely meet the wire. On one side, the mass of a mountain, a life I know. On the other, the universe of the clouds, the void, so full of unknown that it seems empty to us. At my feet, the path to the North Tower, 60 yards of wire rope, which sags, which sways, which vibrates, which rolls on itself, which is ice, which is 3 tons tight, ready to explode, ready to swallow me. An inner howl assails me, the wild longing to flee. But it is too late. The wire is ready. Decisively, my other foot sets itself onto the wire. Okay, so that was just a taste, a little taste of what was happening.
Philippe, you started your career or your journey.
Yes, I'm glad you say that because I don't like the word career, profession. It's a life, you know. Sorry.
Yes, no, absolutely. As a person who would be on the streets of Paris, you used to ride your unicycle all around and you would do street juggling. How did that come to you? What was the reason for going down that path?
Well, actually, I started my performing life as a kid doing magic. I learned magic by myself. But then I discovered juggling, and what brought me to the streets, I think it was rebellion. Nobody wanted to hire me as a teenager magician, juggler, and then wire walker. Because I was too original. I was not using the costume and the music of the show business, another term that I never use. So I started juggling in the streets, and I felt completely free, and I created a silent comic character. And I still do it today.
You know, your Twitter profile says that you've been arrested more than 500 times.
Oh, you cannot believe what you found in Twitter. It's all lies.
It's your profile.
Yes, actually, I don't count anymore, but I am, in a silly way, I am proud of having been arrested more than 500 times, mostly for street juggling and for illegal wire walking, yeah.
So where did this streak come from? Did it come from the fact that your father, and tell me if I'm wrong, was in a prisoner of war camp, and he broke out of there by tunneling through it? Is that correct?
Well, that's an act of rebellion and imagination and endurance, not necessarily an act of a poet, but my father was also a poet and a flyer, a pilot. So I'm sure I inherited little genes there. But no, the street was my answer to feel free when I was discovering a society that teaches you to behave, to belong, to not be free. But before that, in my magic, I was also, a free performer, a little kid, you know.
So what pulled you towards the wire? Why not stay with juggling? Why not just remain only do magic?
Magic brought me to juggling. Juggling brought me to the high wire because I was going to the theater, the variety, the musical, the circus to see more magicians and more jugglers. And one day I saw, oh no, actually the story is more beautiful. I didn't see, I heard. Some people say, you know, there is a troop of wire walker. And I say, what's that? I say, well, men and women that walk on thin air. Sometimes you don't even see the wire. So I thought, well, I am a wire walker because all my childhood I climbed trees, I put little ropes, you know, I rappel down, I am a man of the air and a man of ropes. So that's how it naturally, everything in my life is natural. I didn't take a long list of professions and say, okay, dentist, engineer, oh, wire walker. No, I didn't do that. It's life who brought me where I am.
So when you started, how many times did you fall? Did you keep falling?
Another word I don't use because I have no use for it. You don't fall, or I don't fall. It's too dangerous to fall. I want to get to live to be very old. So anyway, no, when I practice, when I learn by myself without teachers, the wire, the rope first, was between two trees, maybe like that. So I would not fall. This is stupid to fall. I would decide, oh, I am losing my balance. I feel it's lost. I cannot retrieve it. So I turn and I jump. And if it's a little bit high later, I will jump and roll, you know, to not hurt myself. But falling is a very bad idea.
How did you keep raising the bar? How long did it take for you to reach a point where it could be dangerous?
I hate sport metaphors. To raise the bar, yeah. Well, no, I know. It was not in my blood to, I'm going to use your sport metaphor, to raise the bar, to challenge, to try to compete. I know we live in a world of competition, the business, the sport, everything is to try to be better than the neighbor and faster, higher. And my world, while walking, before I entered into it, was made of that. The greatest wire walker, the most dangerous, the highest pyramid, the more somersault. And somehow the poet in me, so in a way I was lucky not to be born in the circus, rebel against all that. What I was interested when I was on the wire was not to make the people frightened, but to be so elegant and so natural on the wire like a bird that people will witness a miracle and they will be inspired rather than afraid or, astonished, So the technical prowess, look at that, I'm doing something that none of you can do, never interested me. And look at that, I am the best in the world. Well, people say that now, but I was not interested in the competition. And I think in art, the minute your goal is competition or money or fame, you're already not an artist anymore. But that's my feelings.
But once you started walking the wire, you weren't happy with just that. You wanted to walk it everywhere.
I'm really
places.
happy.
No, in different places. You were not that I can do this. You wanted to do it at different locations. Why was this? Why was this need?
Well, again, it was my personality. I became a young wire walker by 16 years old, and I had a strange costume. I was wearing all black. I had strange music for the circus. It was classical, piano and trumpet. So nobody, no impresario in the circus wanted to hire me. And I was not into making the people applaud or competing. And, now you're going to see something unique in the world. It costs many people their lives, and that was not me. I was a very different person, so I didn't belong. So to impose myself, but again, it was not really, it was an intuition, was not conscious. I started looking at beautiful places that I think need a wire, and I started thinking of putting a wire without permission. So the few walks without permission I did in France were completely unknown. I would sneak in for an art exhibit, or I did a few beautiful places like the Grand Palais, the Palais des Sports. Nobody heard of those until I put my rope between the towers of Notre Dame. And then suddenly, and again, I didn't care, I didn't want that, but suddenly I was in the front page all over the world, and they called me le funambule de Notre Dame, the wire walker of Our Lady.
Now, Pakistan captain Shahid Afridi might have landed himself in trouble yet again while speaking about fans in India. Asked about fans in Mohali before their match with New Zealand on Tuesday.
Go to different villages across India and actually stay there for a month and see the villagers, help them. And what it does is it opens your eyes to a whole new part of India that you never really saw before. So Amrita gives